talk, no inspire. This is what the man talk. Fire. Now he not the road, me left my man that fire. I prefer me the king of New York. I'm looking at this love and the way that I shot. So get to use. Listen, you rate to rate you. Time period to rate you. Stand up, show the world, say you great too. No matter how people want to hate you. Listen, you rate to rate you. Time period to rate you. People with the ugly face too. So much girl want to hate you. Get to use.
Let's be trying to challenge the most high. But I know that we are doomed to die. All their neighbors, I don't know why they try. But they should know that we are doomed to die. They're building robots to replace the people, minimize the human race. With their intention to control population, Chinese gonna destroy those gays. Hey, as good as they try to challenge the most high. But I know that they are doomed to die.
Welcome to the Lameda. Let me entertain you like Asia. Yes, you mama bella. Me want feel you squeeze it, mommy. Make you bust like finger. To the belly dance and make you get visa. Drink on it and make you get fever. So let me create it out. All night I just me and you. She want to repeat and repeat and now she don't keep it just beat and go. We having a party, really by you. And when I hear the music, we whining by you. Mama bella, come beat it on me like Savior. Rise it like a umbrella, and it's spinning like a propeller. Just know you rise the antenna. Oh, you mama bella. Oh, welcome to the La Vega. Let me entertain you like Asia. Yes, you mama bella. Africa bella. Tell you mama bella. I'm the sister mama bella. From your book to Africa bella. Tell mama bella. Africa bella. I'm the sister mama bella. From your book to Africa. Don't cry mama Africa. So hello, I know mama Africa. Some love them way mama Africa. But it's still a prevail. Martin, Luther, Marcos, Garvey, Bob, Marley, Black Queen, Nani, Maximus, Uvex, Elcory, Ionix, Usain Bolt, Shalian, Elira, Ingo, Sharika. Yeah, Africa, we there. Tell them say we there. And the sister and the brother. From your block, you are African, yeah.
Currency space, what you're doing in the cardology space is absolutely amazing, and you're changing lives everywhere. Isis Wisdom, like I said, you was the most requested guest on my channel, and I'm like, who is this Isis Wisdom everybody's talking about? So you're completely lighting up the whole YouTube arena. Amina, what you're doing on Instagram is absolutely amazing with astrology. You're dealing with the Forex, and the wisdom and the predictions that you make based on astrology is absolutely amazing. And I mean, you got Instagram on fire. Queen of Four, words can express what you have done for our people, for humanity, for cause, for just everything. I mean, sacred woman. That's a Bible in my household. Like my queen, like it changed her life. I mean, it changed women's lives, whether they're 18 or whether they're 80. You know how they say 8 to 80, blind, crippled, or crazy? Like your book changed everybody's life in terms of a woman raised from all types of age groups. So you are definitely the queen of queens, and I want to thank you for just incarnating here at this time to share your wisdom and to share everyone's work with humanity to help uplift us, and that's what this ultimately is for. We fell asleep, we sleeping gods, and We waking up, we like, oh shit, we forgot who he was. So I got a team of queens, goddesses on here who are here to wake us up. With that being said, let's get started. All right, now, so when we talk about the divine feminine energy, or what a lot of people this year, they started, I heard the term become popular, Big Mama energy. And we always heard about Big Mama. Big Mama always ran the house, so everybody knows about Big Mama. But when I see ancient, primordial depictions of this divine feminine energy, I'm seeing like Kali, heads off, knives, all that. I'm seeing Shakti. In today's world, when you think about power, you think about men. But when you see the goddesses, you think about power when you see them. So my question is, as black men, one of the things we ask for, we want in a woman, we be like, damn, we want the black woman to be more calm, more docile, like this group of women. And we think black women are out of their natural state. But it appears if that's the goddess energy, then black women are always going to be full of fire. They're always going to be fiery. They're always going to be sassy. They're always going to be that thing that some men profess that they don't like. But it seems as though we've been taught that they were feminine is something different. So talk to me about the ancient depiction of divine femininity versus the current depiction of divine femininity, where we think you're supposed to be more docile, more calm, shut the hell up, and, just sit back and let us run the show. Talk to me about that, ladies. And anybody can start. Anybody who wants to start can start. Whoever's feeling the spirit first, you can start. And whoever has something to add on, you can just add on, and we'll roll like that. Then I'll move on to the next question.
Well, it's all about matriarchal life. The man and woman is working in tandem. Not that the patriarch now is ruling and over the feminine principle, or the matriarch, the feminine principle is over the man. But our way to return to ourselves is that there is ma'at. And it's amazing because when I think about the deities, because the deities are the natural rule that personifies women, is ma'at. A whole nation was based on the principle of ma'at, which is justice, righteousness, reciprocity. It's the justice system, the 42 laws of ma'at. So a whole nation was based on the feminine principle that she led the way to justice and truth and righteousness and harmony and holism. Then we have to revere the mother and give honor and respect to her. It's not for the man to dominate, but to be in honor of. Would you look at the Ankh is a symbol of family. The feminine principle, she is the ovum on the top, representing the Ankh. And on the very bottom, that holds her up and lifts her up, is the masculine principle. And together with that oneness, they bring forth life, continuation of our tradition, and it brings forth family. So those two together, the feminine principle and the masculine principle, you cannot do one without the other. Another principle of the power of the feminine principle is Mother Nut. Mother Nut is our sky mother, and she's over the whole planet. And you'll see the artwork of our ancestors, and it's depicted to hold the legacy and keep it alive. And so under her beingness is humanity. And it's through her that we carry the light of truth. And it's through her spirit, that feminine principle, that we're able to birth a new world. Not only that all of us on this call are these wonderful queens, healers, that we're here to help to rebirth and bring our people into this new age, where there is respect for the feminine principle. So that is just some of what I have to say on the balance and bringing that harmony to both men and women. Because if we are docile, then we'll be broken. If we have to be led, as opposed to also being the leader, then we're in trouble as the people, which we're going through now. We're going through a shift, though, and the women are coming forward, and not to control the man, but to be in alignment with our men. And that's really nation building.
Yeah, I think that for the longest time we've been living in our community, we've been living a lot of dual lives. We have a thought about how things should be in our mind, but we haven't been living that way behind closed doors. And because of that, people have been suffering, and the cries have been heard, you know, by the mothers. The cries have been heard. Cries are heard, you know. So, and when we talk about balance, we use the word bring back to balance, right? And that the process of bringing back to balance can be a very rigid, a very sometimes even violent one. It's not a nice process. You know, think about when you come home and your kids are running around and they're acting a fool, and you want to bring it back to balance, and you kind of, you know, acting kids up. You know what I mean? You got to roll louder than kids do. You know? So we're at the phase where we're bringing back to balance. And because we're at that space, it may seem harsh in some instances. It may not be well received, especially on the masculine side, because, you know, the men have been feeling judged and persecuted by other forces, right? And when we come back in and try to restore things, it's triggering. You know what I mean? So we're dealing on a day-to-day basis in our own personal relationships with triggers in a very violent environment. You know what I mean? So we have to be very, we as influencers, we have to be very careful on what we trigger and what we say, because what we say can end up in the death of somebody. You know what I mean? Because, again, this is a very triggering piece that we're living in. Another thing is we have to understand archetypes. You have to understand that just because we're women and we're female, we are not the same. They're not the same archetype.
Interesting.
We all have archetypes. So I spoke about an archetype today when I talked about, because a lot of these archetypes live in nature. So I spoke about the queen bee today. And the queen bee is another archetype. That's a whole nother archetype. You know what I mean? And what's interesting about the queen bee, because you can study the pattern and you know how to deal with these different archetypes. But what's interesting about the queen bee is that, you know, the hive is in service to the queen bee. You know, she has workers, she has other female workers who actually serve her, right? So in today's situation, we have men that are trying to turn queen bees into worker bees. And the penalty for that is death. You know? So you can't be out here. You can't be out here wrapping up a queen bee archetype and turning her into your worker, or pairing her up with other women who are not serving her, because things are going to get really, really, really bad, right? So you have all types. You got tiger archetypes. You got so many different types of women. So we have to stop painting this brush on femininity and saying, well, it's supposed to look like this. Y'all supposed to look nice. Y'all supposed to look docile. You know, my mothers, the Yami, they're not docile. You know what I mean? They are not at all. You know? And you would pale with thinking some of the stories you hear. You'd be like, that's what you mess with. You know? But at the same time, we have a desire, we have an inner desire for peace and balance. I think we have that desire. That's what we want. A lot of us, I know I'm speaking for myself, you know, I'm one of those that moved back into different archetypes. I'm actually about to move into my queen bee archetype. So I'm moving from one position to the next, and that happens with women too. So you're in this identity crisis. You know what I mean? Like, you're in business, you own your own business, you're being elevated, you're being tapped to do this, to be empowered, right? So that means that in your whole circle and circumference, you need a support system that is going to support your power, because you're using your power for the good of the community, like literally. You know what I mean? So you need that support. So you can't be a tiger. You can't be a mouse at home and be a tiger out there. You know what I mean? You're struggling there. So, but I think on our side as women, we want to choose the better archetype. We want to fit in. We want to have those relationships. So we want to try to be something else that we're not at the time, you know, and then we fail. You know, we fail at trying to be that which we're not, you know, at the time, instead of embracing that and attracting the people who are going to support that archetype at the moment.
Indeed. Okay. Amina, you want to add on to that? I don't see. I think Isis Wisdom went somewhere.
Yeah, I would love to, because the archetypes is definitely something that I have been always very attracted to and connected to the different archetypes, for the simple fact that, you know, when we think about who we are as just people, not only women but men as well, what is the basic foundational root of what makes us who we are? And when you really think about it, well, for me, from you know, I see it as the elements, the 4 elements. And just like our physical body, we are made of earth, air, fire, and water. But these are also, these 4 elements correspond to certain character traits within us. And so, just like our natal chart, somebody might have a lot more fire than water, or a lot more earth than this and that, or whatever. And so, I noticed that when that is, you know, because we all have all 4 of them, but there's definitely like one that would stand out, and we kind of alternate too, you know. I like to call them, you know, being in tune with the earth, air, fire, and water. I call it the mother, maiden, crone, and the supreme, all 4 archetypes. And so our maiden is when, you know, that's like when we're younger and we want to get our hair done, we want to be in the sensual energy, we want to be beautiful or beautified, adorned. And then we have the mother archetype where we're our motherly energy, our nurturing energy. We want to, you know, protect, and we want to water and take care of everybody around us. And then you have this crone archetype where your intuition is just on point, and you know how to really, you have this vision, and there's certain things that you can see, and you know how that needs to be incorporated or organized into your community, because you have that foresight or that insight, that intuition that can kind of lead the community in however way you see fit. And then you have the supreme, where yes, everybody gathers, kind of like what Aquarius Maximus was saying about the queen bee archetype. It's kind of like, you know, where she can gather everybody together, get the whole community together for whatever reason, or everybody know that this is, you know, this is the like the grandmother. The crone is a grandmother too, but it's more like a spiritual, more hidden, more isolated by herself, doing her work, her magic. But the supreme is very similar to the crone archetype, but she's more like within the community, like very, very similar to what she was saying about the queen bee. So yes, like the archetypes is something that we really should consider, because even with men, there's 4 archetypes, and not every man is going to be a warrior. You know, he might have some warrior in him, but not every man is a warrior. He might be more of a healer. He might be more of a teacher, or, you know, some very high occult practicing magician of some sort. You know, and that might be his strength. And even though we have all 4, I think it is important for us to really truly find our main archetype and where we're at. What is your element? What element do you really correspond with? That will help us understand. Are you more of a watery type? Then you're definitely more mothery. Are you more of the air type? Then you're definitely the crone, where your intuition, your logic, your intellect is on point, is very sharp. And then you might have your, what was it, the other one? The maiden. The maiden is the earth element, where you're, you know, more in tune with your sensuality and your beauty and the material world and things like that. And you thrive there, you know. Nothing's wrong with that. Maybe you're very, you know, concerned with adornment and having, you know, the physical appearance. And then the supreme, this is the fire. The supreme is like the fire archetype within the woman, or the fire element within the woman. So I love that you brought that up, because yes, it's very important because a lot of us, I think a lot of men, we can say, they are expecting that one archetype, which is the mother. Where's the water?
Right. Yeah.
Where
That's
the hugs and kisses and it's not always right. It's 4 other elements within all of us. So there's 4 archetypes within all of us.
I hope a lot of men are listening. This is a great build already. Amazing. I'm sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah, like all of us aren't mother. Well, we all have a mother. We all can be mothers, even if we don't have children. You know, we all have a womb. We all are creators. We're all incubating something, right, within us. A project, business, whatever you're doing. So we all have the ability to nurture something. But I just think it's not really fair to the feminine overall to just expect the only archetypes from us as the mother. You know, what about the crone? You know, you don't like that part when I gotta let you know what it is and speak the truth within me. And sometimes the truth that I know to be true, sometimes that might come off as, oh, she's masculine, oh, she ain't submissive, oh, she's this, she's that, because I guess we could say my masculine within me is maybe a little more, I don't know, I guess stronger or more in tune with truth and not as confused as another man's masculine. And he might see that as a threat and just kind of discredit my femininity overall. But in reality, it's archetypes, right? We don't expect every man to be a gangster, a hood, and a warrior. We don't expect every man to be a businessman and on his stuff. He might be more of the spiritual, the Ogun type, where he want to heal you in the woods. And that's okay. And I think we need to get that understood with the device.
Powerful. Isis, you want to close out on this question?
Well, I want to say thank you very much for actually pointing that out. You gave me like another perspective to look at things. I never thought about it like that from the archetype perspective. But now sitting back thinking about it, one of the things that I always promote to my clients and to my audience is about operating within the divine feminine. And operating within the divine feminine just simply means that you're operating out of your heart space, which is the direction that we're currently moving into right now. You can have a warrior archetype. I'm a warrior archetype. You can have a warrior archetype that is also violently and operates out of a heart space. And then you can have those super duper feminine types that can also do the same thing. So I just wanted to just go ahead and just agree with the ladies in terms of what they're saying. I don't have much to add at this time based on what they said, so I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys keep rolling with that. I'm going to add on some other stuff later.
And that's beautiful. You mentioned the heart space because I know with the heart, there's 4 chambers, right? So
yes.
There's your 4 right there where outsourcing in and out from that point of focus where we have to, you know, sometimes we got to be the word, kick some ass. Sometimes we got to sometimes we got to have our heads on right for our business and our projects and our whatever we're doing. And, you know, et cetera. So, yeah, I love about that because there's 4 chambers in the heart.
Yeah, get to know what woman you're getting. And, you know what I mean? Get to know where they are. Get to know them for where they are and who they are. And that's it. You know what I mean? Because there's ultimately they can put on a face and try to hide that and whatever, but their energy is gonna emit wherever they are. It's gonna emit. Ain't no stopping.
I'm so blessed to be here with y'all ladies tonight, man. Oh, man. Yeah, I know y'all loving this show so far. Let me get to the next question. A word that's in the spiritual community that is synonymous with divine feminine energy, a lot of people say it's Kundalini energy. And Kundalini energy is also known as the Christ energy. So when we think about Christ, everybody talks about the return of Christ, the return of Christ, the return of Christ. Should we actually be thinking about the return of the divine feminine when we talk about the return of Christ, since Kundalini and Christ is also this divine feminine? Are we really looking for the divine feminine to return when we talk about this whole Christ thing?
The divine feminine number one.
Thank you. I was going to say, where did it lead?
Well, the suppression. Suppression would be a better word?
You know what? Divine feminine goes through cycles. That's what a lot of the mythologies were about. When they talked about, I forget her name, when she went down under earth. There's so many different stories about the same women that went down under earth, right? And then came up above earth, right? So there's cycles, You know what I mean? There are cycles that we go through. Like we go through those inner, you know, what do you call it, butterfly, going in cocoon cycles, and then come out and blazing, ready to go to the next thing. We go through those, you know. And I think that when we talk about, you know, and I'm having a problem because I actually mentioned this today, and I hate to say it, but as much as cultural as we are, we still chase the Eurocentric ideal of what this is all about. You know what I mean? We still have that. That's like what we're going for. You know what I mean? And the brothers too, when they say, "Well, that's what I want, and I want this," we're still under the Eurocentric ideal of womanhood and femininity, and that's a huge problem. That's the biggest problem that we have right now, because we're gonna fight against that. Like we're gonna fight. You know, that's gonna bring the fight out. You know, when you take our earrings off and get the Vaseline and all that, that's what's going to evoke that energy. You know what I mean? Because again, it's just at one point it gets really disrespectful. You know what I mean? To on one hand call us, you know, exalt us and say we're exalted, but on the other hand, force us to be another construct that we're not. You know, and then also say that is the Holy Grail. You know what I mean? So you're upholding European women as the Holy Grail to what we're supposed to adhere to. You know? So that's just, but see, that has been behind the scenes for a long time, decades and decades and decades. So now these are the things that we're bringing out to the surface, so we can say, hey, we have to heal this, we got to deal with it, we got to expose it, you know. And again, people don't like these things exposed. They don't like to be exposed, you know. They want to keep the Band-Aid on it, and whatever, because they feel like it's going to disrupt the control they have within their relationships. You know what I mean? So you have people that are trying to control their relationships, and they don't want their relationships disrupted, you know, by this thing. So, you know, it's a lot going on with it, but the divine feminine has not gone anywhere. It has, we choose to lay back and just, you know, take a break and do other things and stuff like that. But when the war comes in, then we put on our, you know, we put on our capes and we get out there and do that thing too. And that's where we are right now. And we're trying to do it in the most balanced of ways. But nature doesn't work like that. Nature sends in tornadoes and hurricanes and floods and kills people and all of that to bring back balance.
Like, I thought you was feminine though. And you're like, oh yeah.
Sure. You're crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm nature.
I think that.
Oh shit.
I think that one of the biggest things that hit our community. You guys remember when Steve Harvey put out that book called "Think Like a Man"?
Yep. That was one of my questions.
I thought that was like the most disrespectful thing that he could actually put out. He was basically saying, deny your femininity and think like a man, but I'm a woman. So why would I want to think like a man when I'm a woman? I said think like a woman. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with you expressing your emotion. There's nothing wrong with chaos when it's balanced. A lot of people don't realize that the divine feminine energy can also be very chaotic. But to deny those aspects of ourselves will be us denying our femininity. Okay? And also, I would like to point out, and Black Magic, I think I spoke to you about this in the last live that you and I had done, where I had explained that, you know, when you start looking at this from a cosmic perspective, nothing comes into existence without birth. That's the way Source had intended it. So, you're talking about when Source first created the first beings that Source created was the first 99 goddesses. The goddesses were created long before the gods were created. The goddesses, in turn, created the divine masculine. Many people are not aware of this. And if you want to get super technical, as Source has communicated to me once before meditation, technically she is the first mother of all creation and father of all creation. So I just want to say that this is something that's embedded within us. It's not something that you're going to be able to change because it's natural in its nature. It's not something that you can, when you try to move against yourself, eventually that's going to fall apart. When you build your relationships based upon certain ideologies that's not natural to who you are, those things are going to fall apart. So I feel like during this time period on the planet right now, what is happening is that the divine mothers are bringing what you call correction. Okay? The balance, which is what Aquarius Maximus was talking about. Bringing back the balance, and there's going to be situations where people are not going to like how that comes to play when correction comes. You know the corrections are nothing pretty. It's actually hurtful when you go through correction. But nonetheless, this is what's coming down upon the planet right now. So I just want to say that with peace.
Anybody want to add on that before I get to the next question? Because Isis she touched on my next question. Oh, I'm sorry, Queen. I'm sorry, Queen. Yeah. It was, okay. Hold up, Queen, because there was noise coming. Let me fix Queen of Fools, man. Okay, now, okay, yeah. It said your mic was connected. Yeah, go ahead, Queen.
I'm fully charged with every queen that has spoken, everything that has been said.
Excellent.
When you talked about that Kundalini energy, that's the symbol of medicine, which is when that Kundalini energy, that's what's awakening now in the women, in the womb. And we are rebirthing ourselves, and the name of it is Renanette the Cobra. And so you might see it in belly dancing, where it's in the first two chakras, or the African term for chakras, Arit or Aritu. Well, in the full awakening, it's not trapped in one area. The awakening, it goes just like this, and just interlocks as a cobra, which is the higher consciousness. And it comes up the spine in that way. That's your medicine waking up. And then it comes into the pineal gland, the Usha, and then there's a awakening, and then you can see vision. What I have noticed with women now is that women are really tapping into that healer. And like our sister said, we needed her to come forth now more than ever. And so that is shifting the household, that the women are accepting their position. And so they come out as doulas now, and midwives, and yoginis, and vegan chefs, and reflexologists, and midwives, and herbalists. It's mass. Every woman knows something about some form of medicine, which is Sekhmet's work. And so this rebirth has so many attributes. So we're not even one-faceted. Sometimes women feel crazy because they're this, and then tomorrow they shift to that, because these are all of our aspects just bursting out. And this is our time that we must. This is a do or die time. Either we come all the way through and birth ourselves as a people, or we go, or we die away. So this is a massive rebirth, and men should not feel threatened. We need you to support us, because if you support us, then we'll be able to do our work. We are the primary healers of the home. We go outside to heal ourselves when we get sick. That's not the power of the African, but we go inside to make ourselves well. And as medicine women, enter him as sacred women, we go inside, we work from our home base, and every disease that's in the system that's been poured in our community, we can overcome that when we wake up. And there is a prayer that the ancients gave to us thousands of years ago, and I read it in the Persian room, and it says, "We are the women who lighten the darkness. We have come to lighten the darkness. It is lightened. We have overcome the destroyers, us. We have overcome the destroyers. We are there for those who weep, who hide their faces, who sunk down. They looked upon us then. We are the women. We are the healers." And so even with this and us on this panel together, each one of us has various attributes. That's the archetype. But sometimes we have 3 and 4 in one day, according to what we need. Sometimes working straight from the heart, and sometimes the warrior queen for wellness comes out as Sekhmet, and then sometimes she soothes with the spirit of Ma'at, and And then next thing you know, she's birthing her purpose to free the people. So we have all of this magic in us
Powerful. Go
that
ahead, Queen.
must be unleashed
Go ahead,
in the
Queen.
world.
Yeah.
We cannot hold back nor suppress ourselves and try to make ourselves less than who we are. We are the mothers of civilization. And we're taking our stand. We're taking our stand and we're not turning back. And our men love us. You have to love us too, because if you're not allowed, this is happening anyway. If you support us, then you will have longevity. If you do not support us, many of our black men are dying of prostate cancer, stroke, high blood pressure in their latter 40s, 50s, and 60s. It's over. The black mother, she lives to 60, 70, 80 years old. Even the breast was removed or ovary was removed. So we are able to sustain ourselves because we unify. The women come together and we cry, we moan, we talk, we shout, we decide. That's the village of the women. Our men, they stay isolated unto themselves. Our men have to come together. It is the unity. That's my child here, upper and lower Kemet. Masculine and feminine principle. It is the unity that's going to set us free. Not I have all the answers. Or this one has all the answers. Or because he's a man and he has to rule and he's the head of the household. He's not the head of the household, my aunt. Balance and truth is the head of the household. So if we move on those places, then our men will resurrect. The women will continue to resurrect. The children will blossom. The elders will have longevity. I want to give honor to my mother. She's 98 years young. And to this day, she takes all my healing formulas from the garden, from nature. So we are supernatural women. And we want our supernatural men to rise up with us in harmony. And then nothing, no other nation, no other people will suppress us and imprison us and give us what they look at as beauty. We are the most beautiful women on this planet, with all our colors and textures and spirits and body types and states of excellence. We are the living example of the best of the Most High.
Queen of Fu is talking sassy. She's talking sassy.
But the sisters are bringing it out of me.
Oh, right. Woo, she's talking sassy.
You bringing the king of clubs.
Ooh, she's talking sassy, y'all.
King of clubs.
I'm looking at y'all and I'm like, look at this power queen here. I better come on with it.
Oh, man. Let me ask y'all this. Was there ever a time where this is something I've heard, years ago, and I'm like, damn, is it true? I mean, women are already complex. I'm like, women are extremely complex creatures. And I heard this years ago. They said that, and ISIS alluded to this. They said that there was a time on this planet where only women existed, and women did not need men to procreate. That makes y'all even more mysterious. So I'm like, is this shit true or not? Like, can y'all tell me, is this true? Like, was there a time on the planet where there was just women and you didn't need men at all to exist? Talk to me about that time.
We live in a feminine universe.
Feminine universe.
A feminine universe.
Okay.
Right? And we structured and categorized ourselves down to different levels and different categories, right? So we've separated, we created these polarizations of, genders and this and that and whatever. But in reality, we don't want to talk about it, but, the male, right, is still the genetic substructure of the female.
I heard that.
You don't want to talk about that.
I heard that.
We always don't want to talk about that.
I used to talk about that back in the day.
Right, exactly, right? So that's just how it is. But however, everyone polarizes. That's what we do. That's why we have these polar shifts. Polarize. We decide to, just like a zygote divide, we decide to divide and to polarize. And however strongly we identify with our polars, we just go away. So we have the male and female dynamic, we have the black and white dynamic, we have all of these different polar structures that exist, right? Sorry, my son is handing me something, I don't know what it is.
Hey, so,
I don't even know what that is.
How to your son?
Hold on. I got 8 of them. But we polarize, and we created these realities and these mental constructs, right? So we gotta play them out. This is the game. It's the game of life. We gotta play out these mental constructs that we created, and we love the constructs. You know, we love them. Like we love the creation man that has polarized away from us. You know what I mean? Because it's given us another view and perspective on life. You know, and we love that. We love different views and perspectives. Otherwise, we'd be bored. You know? So, but we still have to be able to accept what is as the truth and just accept it. Just eat it. You know what I mean? It's not anything to chip away at your ego or who you are. It's not saying that you're weak. Because remember, we don't think we're not weak. So if you're a substructure of us as a mother, you ain't weak either. You know what I mean? But we're so afraid to have these conversations, right? And even us women, I'm putting the fault on y'all too, right? Because a lot of you, you're by yourself, right? And you want to be accepted, and you want to have a man, you want to have a strong man, right? So you're going to shut all this down. Like, I'm not gonna have this conversation. You know what I mean? When I'm with, you know, when I'm seeing this guy or when I'm dating, I'm not gonna have these conversations. So it's back to the authenticity. That's what's missing. We know what's going on. We know what's going on within you. You have to be authentic. You know what I mean? And no, it's not gonna make you be lonely for the rest of your life. What it's going to do is attract the right person for you at the right time. Not somebody who's just attracted to you because you got on a mask and you're not being authentic and you're not being honest about who you are and what you're going through.
That's gems, right? The authenticity is going to attract the right person at the right time, y'all. These are gems. Yeah, yo.
Also, I want to add to that, in the person who is there, in the very opening of the book, the first written text of Kemetic teachings, the name of the word for God is Newt. So that's a feminine principle there. So to humble to that is going to create balance on the earth because Mother Newt does the rebirthing of us, and that's what we're going to do right now. And we have to balance out the whole notion of Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. So where's the feminine principle here? So did Father birth the Son? And what's the Holy Ghost? Is it the feminine principle that is not being lifted up? And so even in various spiritual houses, you know, even as the holy books, the sacred books, they're all written by men. They're not written by women. From the Bhagavad Gita to the Holy Bible to the Quran, they're all written by the masculine principle. Where's the woman's voice? Where's the balance? And that's why women are literally dying. As above, so below. Black women have 90% black women, 90% of black women have fibroid tumors. Her uterus is being bombarded with pain and suffering. 45% of black mothers are dying in childbirth. We're having a very difficult, and the babies are dying with them. So we're having a difficult time birthing. We're at a crossroads. We're in a crisis. So it is really time for the truth to be told and for the men to have no fear, but to revere. And if you don't, that's when the battle becomes, as we talked about the war. If you try to suppress her when she is birthing, how do you suppress a baby coming out of a mother's womb? Or her birthing of herself? One of the symbols of that is Meshkinet. Meshkinet is a woman, that's one of the guardians that's indwelling when we're striving to birth our purpose. It takes work to birth your purpose. It takes work to birth a new humanity. And that's what this is. We're birthing a renewed humanity. And in that is the bearing down. And the symbol of Meshkinet is a woman in a squat. And she's in this squat, and you see the head of the baby. Herself is coming out of herself. She's repairing and renewing herself. That same transformation process of birthing is of Mother Newt, from the time the sun goes down, it's the 12 hours of the night. And and the sun is swallowed. The sun goes into the body of Mother Newt. And every hour, the sun is traveling. And when the sun rises again, Mother Newt now is in a squat. And she's now birthing life into the world. And you'll see it in the art, you'll see a symbol of Kepler, transformation. You see that birthing as wings. So we are rising up now. And the women are becoming more balanced and more powerful. But when you first wake up, you might scream because you've been asleep for such a long time. And the blindness have been on. And you're just becoming aware of yourself. I have watched in Sacred Women like one when she was about to divorce her mate. I can't do this anymore. I can no longer suppress myself to make him feel good about himself. So what ended up happening, she put her foot down so she could rise up for her children, and for him, if he had the strength to support her. And in that, he then had, she said, the only I can do is you have to take care of myself. Wellness warrior training, my son Supernova, and Hallelujah, the spiritual cousin. Together, and with 12 powerful elder men like so our men, we're missing the rites of passage. So we cannot fully, your language is stolen, we've been stolen, our culture is stolen, our traditions are stolen, everything's stolen, suppressed, and then told that they're not worth anything. And then put us in jail and make us criminals, and then, the support. So the only one is going to save us is us. And it is absolutely necessary that the women rise up now. This is the season, this is the time. It's like steamrollers are coming for us. If we don't do this, and the men are, you are right now, but you are giving us the ultimate support. And that is what we need from our men. We need the ultimate support. When a woman is birthing a baby, all she needs is support. And she won't be in labor for 30 hours. That man will really support her from conception all the way through. When she's time for her to do the big work and bear down, all we need for him is hold her back and dry her sweat and give her ice water and just support her in the spirit and pray her through. And he can be that level of support. If she can do the rest of the work, she will birth this whole soul coming out of her body. The returning asset will come down through her. So we're not competing with each other. We have to harmonize with each other. We have to honor the great mother. She has been suppressed. There's a thing on us for 40 years of child slavery. And so the mother, she's already being raped, and then they put her on a plantation for a so-called medical doctor who's trying to find his way. He uses her womb. He would use her womb. And he would do several surgeries. And of course he's not going to give her painkillers because she can take pain. It's happening to this day. They don't really address black women's pain even in the hospital. It's a mess. That's why we have to have home births. We have to do everything the opposite. We have to home births. We have to breastfeed. We have to educate our children, create our own schools, like we did in the 60s. We have to be self-sustainable. I've been blessed right now with 22 acres of land in Atlanta, Georgia as a gift, so that our people can come. The sister has 480 acres. And she said, Queen, if you will please help me to build this so that we can have a community of wellness, so we can grow our own food and live our true life. And so everything is here to support us. The Most High supporting us. We just have to tap in and listen to our intuition as women, and then we will continue to birth. And continue to birth our men, our children, all of them.
Indeed. Let me, if we examine the Bible from a metaphysical perspective, and we observe the law of correspondence when they say as above, so below, as within, so without, something in the Bible that confuses a lot of people. When the God says, I am a jealous God, they're like, how the fuck is God a jealous God? God is God. How can God be jealous? Right? Now, if God is a woman, and they say women are known for being jealous, let's examine God from an energetic perspective. when you're about to manifest something, or you want to manifest something from energy to a physical state, they say, don't tell nobody. Because if you tell somebody, the shit ain't going to manifest. So it seems like there's this divine